What is up everyone? Today we are back, we are playing Megabonk. Today we are trying the AFK challenge. So we are going to be using Athena for this. Now I have tried doing this as Mega Chad. Trust me, you want to be using Athena. I know she's just Captain America from Team U, but she has Aegis, which blocks incoming attacks and sends out shockwaves. And then she also gets more damage on the lower HP and gains 2 thorns per level. This is super important. We're obviously going to be on Forest Tier 1 as this is the only place you can do the AFK challenge. And it is a super difficult challenge, to be honest. I have tried multiple times using Mega Chad and things like that, but trust me, you want to be using Athena. Now, the reason why Athena is so good is because if you use a character like Mega Chad or any of the ones that use projectile weapons, you're going to be unable to actually perform any upgrades because the enemies will die outside the XP range. As you can see here, I'm knocking back enemies and I am gaining XP. I know a couple of the gems of XP aren't quite getting sucked up here, but trust me, this is the best of a bad situation. Now the upgrade situation is a little bit rough at the start for me here on this run, but don't worry, we're going to be skipping through this run in just a second because this is just my first run of the day, and let's say it doesn't go super well. We do get a couple of upgrades. Now some other upgrades you want to be putting in with Athena, you can get Aura as well, but I would do this later on. Axe is a really nice one to chuck in. But the main weapon you actually want to pick up is the katana. I will show you the selection of weapons and tomes that I allow in my run because I have the toggle option. Now if you don't have the toggle option, I would advise you get it, or at least make sure you have a load of refreshes for the upgrade screens. The reason for this, if you don't have the choice of which upgrade you're going to get and be using in your runs, it just won't work. Now as you can see here with the axe, I was doing okay on this run, but I was not picking up any of the XP. So I'm going to blitz by all my failed attempts and just let you see how badly it went. And then I'll show you how you should be using Athena and weapons and tomes in your runs.
Because yeah, I think I'm dead. We might be dead. We're dead. I think I'm dead. Yeah, okay, that was my fault to be fair. I'm not going to push this corner. Gosh, darn it. What? Oh my god. That's an absolute joke. Crazy, absolutely crazy.
So for my run, I just make sure I just have Katana and Aegis on. For the tomes, I take everything off apart from the Quantity Tome and the Armor Tome. Get rid of Thorns, they're basically completely useless. And as you can see, this is the start of the final and most important run. And down there you can see I do get a Legendary Shrine, which unfortunately I don't think I was able to actually activate, as you basically are just hoping that you get moved around a lot. But at the start here, so we get a lovely size of knockback, but you can see I don't take it in order to get Katana. Now the reason why it's so important to get Katana early on is, although if it attacks straight away, it goes just outside, when you start getting the hordes of enemies like this, you can actually protect yourself and not lose too much health, which is super important for like when the boss arrives, you need to basically be on max health. Now for the upgrades, I skip a lot of options because basically if it's not exactly what I want and it's not really worth it, then I kind of just skip over it. So I got the attack speed time, super important for the katana, and it helps with the refresh of your Aegis shield. So that's kind of super important for these runs. And then a lot of these runs, as you can probably imagine, is just sitting around and doing absolutely nothing. Because what else can you do? It is just a case of sit around and wait because it's AFK. You're not allowed to move no matter what. So I can twist my screen around and look at different areas with my camera, but there's not much here. And then what will pull that is the legendary attack speed halfway through the second minute, was just absolutely unreal. There was no other option than to pick that. This just obviously makes the katana way more effective. The Aegis shields replenish so much quicker. So this is probably the strongest start I've had to a run in a while. And then here we get the projectile count and the size. Size isn't super amazing because you don't want to be killing too many enemies, especially outside the area, but the attack speed, and especially for the boss, that's what you have to think about. How am I going to get through the boss? How am I going to get through the waves? Because that's your only challenge on this. Anyone can sit here and realistically just do this part. This is pretty simple because you could just pick up like the pistol, but it's about surviving the boss. So we're going to see how this run develops, and I'll commentate on the different options I picked and why I did that. So here we're going to get our next upgrade, and again I've picked this time the projectile count and size only because there was no other good options there. I've already wasted a couple of refreshes. You've got to be smart unless you're like a really high level on the game in terms of, unless you've got loads of silver in the game and you've already bought like a bunch of refreshes, you kind of have to spend them wisely. So I didn't want to waste all of my silver. I didn't want to waste all of my refreshes picking up the wrong items, so I had to make sure that I was being clever with this. So I know it's a little bit of a waste maybe to go for things that have like size in them, but hey, I just picked this and this was a successful run. Not every single decision has to be perfect on these runs. Up next then, so we got the size chunkers, none of that. See, and that's where you got to be so careful. So here I've used my last refresh already, but I did get knockback and projectile count. And that's super important because getting knockback to stop the enemies from basically consistently smashing you and like ruining your health before a boss comes, really important. And as you can see here, I picked up a shield just in time. Like this guy wants to attack me, he can't. I get the projectile count, that's an extra shield to put on, so that's more damage. And then here in my chest, I got increased damage by 2.5% on open chest. Kind of pointless, but we take it. I thought that attack was going to do way more damage, but it seemed to like lag or glitch out a little bit there and didn't really do anything. So I think maybe one of my shields procs at the exact same time and the game didn't really know what to do, so who knows there, but we get away with it. We would have survived anyway, we had over 100 health. So as you can see, we're actually on a really good run. We've dealt with the first boss, which I think if you can deal with that easily, I know we had the shield, but if you can deal with that easily, that means you're on the sign for a good run. Okay then, so coming up to the 6-minute mark, and this is the first wave. This is the hard part of the challenge as well as the first two. If you deal with the first two, the wave and the boss, then you're probably going to be fine. As you can see here, this is why you want the projectile count so many to come at once. So I pick up another quantity tome, really important there. And then basically you're just hoping that you get knocked around into a good amount of XP. I get a nice bit of damage and projectile count, which I know damage might not be super important, but it is actually kind of useful for when the bosses come. So I just picked it up. And obviously the elites as well, they obviously need a lot of damage. Now I've used up all my refreshes, so selection was quite important. I was kind of tempted by bone just because of the bounce of enemies and thought it'd do a lot of damage and get a lot of kills. But evasion actually appeals to me a lot more just to prevent any chance of taking damage. So as you see here, I was just double checking, and it means you take no damage at all from an attack. So it is really powerful. And as you see here, I get knocked back again. So this one, we're going to go for the HP regen just because it increases the amount of HP you get per minute. And as you can see, I'm a little bit low, and I'm just really conscious that if you're not set up with a high amount of HP for the boss fight or for the next swarm, then there's a really good chance I might not make it. So I know it might not be the most like exciting thing to pick, but hey, this is a challenge. It's not supposed to be the craziest run I've ever done in my life. It is about completing the challenge. So we pick up the HP regen, and I'm not gonna lie, nothing now really happens. So I'm just gonna let this play out, and I'll speed it up a little bit so you can see how I'm not cheating, but I'm just gonna let it play out a bit, and then you'll see what happens in a couple of moments time. So after a little bit more time, we finally get our next upgrade. And as you can see here, the elite, that's what starts happening. They start pushing me about. Now we get an upgrade, we get projectile count and crit chance, which is quite a nice upgrade, so I do take it. We also got another upgrade there because we got moved so much. Now at this point, it was really difficult to choose because I've got sword, bow and lightning staff, and I wasn't too sure what I wanted here because I could skip, but at this point I think I kind of just need to take some damage. We've got waves and bosses coming up soon. The sword I think doesn't really help me because it's too close quarters and I don't want them that close to me. So I was going bow or lightning staff. And as you go for the lightning staff, I've got the quantity tome. And basically that can just zap enemies and thin the hordes out for me when I progress later on. And you can unlock the potential to bounce, which is really important for the rebounding. So I've gone with lightning staff in the end. You could go for either or, but now you can see what's going to happen here. I'm just going to keep getting knocked about because I'm not going to be able to do enough damage to kill these guys in one go. And this is where it gets really... I find this really frustrating. These enemies just... Basically, they just blow you anywhere around the map that they want to. And you kind of have no choice. And then one of the worst things you can kind of do at the start of the game is get bumped into a corner. Now, we're not at the start of the game. So I got bumped into this corner. I've got some good upgrades already. I've got lightning, which is killing ones above me as well before they fall down. And then I've obviously got the Aegis shield. I've got my katana. So I'm actually able to keep up with this quite well. And as you see here, every time I get blown up, I'm getting like pushed deeper into the corner, but only by a little smidgen there every single time. And I was quite conscious when this happened. The swarm came, and as you can see now, I'm fully in the corner. I have no chance of getting out. And finally, we get another upgrade here. It does take a little while, and I wasn't too sure. Attack speed or evasion, both pretty useful, but I just thought, you know what, we're in a corner, we need to kill as much as we can. Let's get attack speed. It will do the lightning star, and it will also increase the katana. So, which I think was really useful because as you can see here, I was getting absolutely swarmed by enemies. So I'm just sat here going, well, there's nothing I can do. I've got this terrible angle, this stone golem, and then look, he just falls through the map. And I was like, okay, I have no idea what's going on here. He can still attack me with his range attack, but he's not attacking me close quarters. I still take a hefty amount of damage. I go down to 70 HP on that one alone. But I basically just keep going, and then the magnet spawns on me. Now that is absolutely unreal. I don't know if I will survive without this. We get some amazing upgrades. We get another attack speed. I picked up the bow just for extra damage. We get evasion. Then we get... I chose lightning staff. Then we get another upgrade. We got another upgrade because obviously there's just so much XP scattered around. We get another upgrade. This time we're going to go for the projectile count. So we've got attack speed, then we get projectile bounce, so every single attack by a lightning staff basically is doubled. We then go for the projectile count again. I was tempted by a refresh edge because it wasn't something super crazy, but I forgot I didn't have any. We're then going to go for the HP regen, yeah, just because I was conscious about this, getting bounced around. Look how much damage it does. I've gone all the way down to 50 health there. I don't want that. And then another magnet, which is absolutely insane. I mean, I know I just used one, so it doesn't really matter, didn't give me too much, but did allow me to get another HP regen. Now you can see that regen is just insane. I'm healing like over 1 a second, which is super useful for this challenge because as you can see here, even with that healing, I still went back down to 50 health. So I got super lucky with the magnet. I don't know if I would have survived. Now because the boss is typically underneath me, the chest just spawned me, I got max HP, not super useful. And to be honest, it's not going to make much difference at this point. We've only got a minute left. Again, I'm going to speed up this minute. We'll get to the end. And so here we go. So last few seconds, we are just killing a few of the final enemies that remain. And that's it. AFK challenge complete. Absolutely amazing run. I got a couple of bits of luck, but as you can see from the deaths earlier, you do need some heavy RNG in these runs. So I did get a little bit lucky, but you know what? That's what these runs are about. This run isn't about skill, it is about RNG. But this is the way you help yourself. Get the Aegis, get the katana. Attack speed super useful. Evasion obviously nice. HP regen is really underrated in this run, just because otherwise the bosses will absolutely demolish you. This was a game of chance, and eventually at 1 minute 21 seconds we died. I thought it'd last a lot longer from that, but that is where we got to. The AFK challenge is complete. So that was the AFK challenge. We got Spaceman unlocked, and yeah, we got some nice silver and stuff, but we got the AFK challenge complete. Hopefully this was a kind of semi-useful video for you. Hopefully you enjoyed it either way. If you do have any recommendations for future challenges or video ideas you want to see on the channel, let me know down in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe, See you in the next one.